give it a shot long enough, quote unquote, bleed money. It's investing money, you're investing in money, but most people think, no, I'm losing it, it's going out the door.
You absolutely should have a plan going into it when launching anything. So for our launch strategy, what we do is...
Welcome to today's video. We have two amazing guests, Mina and Melisa, two M's. Hopefully we make some M's on this podcast. But we're gonna be talking about how to succeed with a consumable brand, and more specifically, the entire A to Z process. I feel like that is something that a lot of people are talking about right now. They wanna get into the consumable space. And so we're gonna break down the entire A to Z process. So the first thing, let's just dive right into it. What is the first step that somebody needs to take if they want to launch a consumable product on Amazon?
So for me, we focus on very niche problems and solving, whether it's like fatty liver disease, like the symptoms of that, trying to alleviate specific use cases for a product, or even researching keywords or products that have multiple uses. So right now, it's completely very difficult to launch single keyword ingredient supplements anymore. So just some background, I have been selling consumables since 2016 on Amazon. Long gone are the days where you can just launch a vitamin C or, like a magnesium or collagen, right? It now has to have either a multi-use case and kind of keeping that mind in the branding of the products, but also honing in on, okay, from the get-go, what keywords am I going to include on the packaging? Doing that pre-step research for your keywords, including them, kind of having foresight to have them in all of your content, optimizing your listings specifically for those keywords as well before you jump into setting up your campaigns. Because you kind of have to have that foresight before you jump into it.
I love that. So keywords is super important. And when she's talking about keywords, that's the initial product research process. You can't just go into things blindly and be like, oh, I'm going to launch vitamin C, because obviously it's very, very saturated. So she's talking about finding those, I guess, niches of niches and multiple ingredient supplements. That's, I guess, the strategy now, which is really cool.
Yeah, just an example is supplements for healing, right? So when we first launched it, and it doesn't have to be very linear or something that's specific, it can always evolve over time. So we started as a healing supplement, and then we started to realize people are actually using this for very specific types of surgeries. And what we noticed was people were using it for, like liposuction, all the aesthetic and cosmetic procedures, not just general. And then we kind of pivoted and leaned into that and then started incorporating keywords that kind of targeted those people that were looking for solutions for that problem.
The way I look at it is a little bit different. I like to go into categories that are very competitive and usually problems in my life. So my first one was a sugar-free electrolyte powder, because I'm a consumer of electrolytes, but I couldn't find anything that was sugar-free. And then once I've identified, okay, this is something that I need in my life, it doesn't exist in my life or maybe my family's life, and it doesn't exist on the market, making sure there's enough demand, because again, I don't want to launch a product that makes $5,000 a month in revenue. And then from there, I do a lot of deep market research. So I'm looking to create the most superior product on the market, asking people, what's the best electrolyte powder? Why do you use it? What's bad about it? And then now with AI, I'm downloading all of the reviews of all of my top 20 competitors, having summaries made to say, what's everyone complaining about? What's everyone raving about? And then seeing where I can find that intersection of, like, I have none of the negatives, all of the positives, and additionally solving the problem better than everyone else in these new ways that people have been asking about that doesn't exist on the market. So that's usually how I do it, and I get started into like that. And at the end of the day, I'm not worried about competition. The higher the competition, the better it is for me, because it means the market share is very large. And then if I can just create a better product, I'm now in a category of one.
Product research is super important. So that's the first part to the process. What would you say the second step for a beginner to take? You got the product idea, now what?
I think the next step is, now that you have that product and you've validated that that is actually the best product, not just in your opinion, but people have given you that validation. The next thing is, how can you visually communicate that in the listing? So when people see your product in the search results, and then when they're in the listing and they're seeing it visually, seeing the images, those selling points are coming across very quickly without a lot of writing, and just showing people this is a superior product, it's better than everyone else, it doesn't have any of the negatives of other products, it has all of the positives, it has these additional things that no one else has. And again, like, in my opinion, in my personal shopping experience, I click on the listing, I swipe through the images, I go look at the brand story, premium A plus content, and I'm making a decision. The price is sometimes a factor, right? But if I have something that no one else has, then price goes out the window, right? Because it's like I want that thing and no one else has it, so it's no longer a price comparison. The final piece is the reviews and making sure that it's enough reviews to at least not look like a shady, oh, like no one's really tried it, like I don't know if I should trust it.
Product research, you got the good listing, making sure it's optimized. What's your strategy when it comes to launching, or how important is it to have a strategy to launch? Or are you just throwing it up there and be like, oh, I hope it sells?
You absolutely should have a plan going into it when launching anything, if you want the highest possible chance of succeeding. So for our launch strategy, what we do is we mainly focus on building pre-lists. So we'll do sort of like an email pre-list. I know Mina has done some crowdfunding in the past. We have done kind of like testing lists. So we'll almost take like a drop shipping approach to it. Basically, we'll find a product, figure out, okay, can we sell it or pre-sell it? And then if there's some sort of demand, then we would go ahead and launch it. So we would create, branded stores. People can sign up or pre-order, or we even have it available, but then we just refund everyone, because then we figure, okay, you know what, we just wanted to test the demand and like maybe have like only 50 units in stock. And then if all of them go out the door really quickly, then we know, okay, there is some sort of demand there. We know that we can run these other omnichannel ads, but also then translating it to Amazon ads. We kind of get some data that way. And once we actually send an inventory to Amazon, that's where making sure that your listing is fully optimized before we're driving external traffic, but then also coupling that with launch specific ad campaigns. So usually we go very aggressive, because with supplements, you want to pay for data really quickly. You want to know as soon as possible, okay, what keywords are doing well, which ones are not doing well, and then kind of eliminate them really quickly. Think about it as you're not losing money, you're actually investing in information. And that information can be weaponized to then create stronger campaigns, and really we're focusing on the lifetime value of the customer, right? So even if we're not profiting right out of the gate, there's all these other ways that we can kind of come back to our customers or retarget them using like DSP, and then, kind of following them, whether they're on their phone playing Candy Crush, and then we're there, in situations where they might not expect it, but raising that brand awareness. And that's really what we're doing. We're educating our customer about, we're here, this is what we do, this is why you should pick us over our competitors.
Okay, so I think I understand it. So my background is launching everyday products, like a phone case or a backpack. We're talking about consumables. So the approach for launch is similar, but it's different. And I think what you guys were talking about is the launch for a consumable product, you're not as worried about the profit margins from day one, because there is the LTV, or lifetime value of a customer, where if somebody buys once, hopefully they buy a second, a third, a fourth time. So I see a lot of people so worried about their ACOS, and they're like, oh, it's too high, or I need to be more profitable. What is kind of your rule of thumb when you are launching? Are you guys being like, okay, I want to target a certain ACOS, or is that like, hey, let's just get as many units out the door as possible? You said to get this information and you can utilize it to then make better decisions. What are the steps of, like, you said aggressive? Is there an exact number or something that you guys are looking at, or metrics?
I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of people don't understand how to do this. In my opinion, and what I do is I have an acceptable loss. So first and foremost, make sure that you never run out of inventory. Make sure that you do like a cash flow cycle and analysis of, like, if I have 2,000 units and I go aggressive, when do I need to order my next inventory so it hits and I never run out of stock? That is gonna tell you a lot about how much cash you need. And then on Amazon, I do, okay, what is my acceptable loss? So for example, for me, I'm launching a beef tallow, face and skin moisturizer. And in month 1 and 2, I'm okay to lose $10,000. 3 and 4, $7,000. 5 and 6, $5,000, and so on until I get to 0. Now, if I spend $100 a day and I hit that loss, then that's all I can do. I can only spend $100 a day. I'm gonna try and get more revenue out of that by getting better reviews, better listing, etc. Targeting better search terms. But if I can spend $1,000 a day and still hit that negative 10,000, if I'm only hitting negative 8,000, then I'll go to 1,200 a day, 1,300. My goal is to get the highest sales velocity possible at that loss. Like, so where my finances are like, no matter what you do, you can only spend up to 10,000, right? Or lose 10,000, right? Or invest, like Melissa says. So I'm trying to push my spend and my sales velocity as high as possible up until I hit that breaking point of like, okay, now you're losing 10,000 this month, you can't go any harder. And then investing in that sales velocity, what happens is I'm spending 1,000, I'm making 1,000. I'm spending 2,000, I'm making 3,000. I'm spending 5,000, I'm making 12,000. I'm spending 20,000, I'm making 50,000. And so you end up getting to a point where your spend and your sales start to, the ROAS increases because if your conversion rate improves and your targeting is better. And that's how your revenue and your profits start coming. Not, hey, can I launch and then get to a certain ACOS and then cut down my spend? That like very conservative, scared person type of launch, which especially in any consumable competitive niche, I don't think works.
I love this. And for the average person, this is so important to understand because most people go into business and they want to make money day one. And if they don't, they're like, oh, it failed. This sucks. It doesn't
It's a
work.
scam.
Yeah, yeah. And so going into it with the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to allocate this much. And I know that as I do this and I follow that path, like it's going to end to the end result that you want. But most people aren't willing to give it a shot long enough and quote unquote bleed money. It's investing money. You're investing in money, but most people think, no, I'm losing. It's going out the door. It's not doing it. No, it's helping in the long term. But most people aren't willing to do that. So I love that. You guys have a ton of experience with launching brands and consumables. To kind of wrap things up, I just want to give you guys an opportunity to maybe give us your biggest tip, or maybe something that you could have done better, because you guys have launched several products. What's something that you could give to the audience of like, what could you do different? Or what's a piece of advice that could help somebody that's, hey, I want to launch a consumable brand?
Coming from a sales background, I used to sell cars. It's understanding human psychology first and foremost, and then kind of breaking it down and targeting people when they need to be targeted, right? So there are different stages of awareness when it comes to people and when they are looking to buy something. So they might be in their research stage. They're going to be, searching maybe on other search engines, looking for, they're asking questions. Or we can go to like Rufus, for example, with Amazon's Rufus, which is an AI kind of tool that gives you a bunch of questions that customers are asking on the regular, and that gives you insights on what kind of questions are customers asking about this specific product. Now, you can look at all of your competitors and see what questions are coming up the most, and then tailor your product around that, or at least your product imagery, all of the copy, all of your marketing, even your branded, like your sponsored brand campaigns. Right? So you can actually test different taglines based on where that customer is in their buying cycle. So whether it's they're in the research phase, maybe they're brand aware, they know you already, right? You're going to use different images for that type of ad versus if they're still in the research phase. And then if there's people who are like super hot buyers, like you might want to target them with product ads. So
I love that. I mean, it seems like a lot of the decisions and a lot of everything that we're talking about is you got to go where the data is at, and you got to do prior research, and it's there. You just need to find it and then compile it and put it together and then execute properly. So thank you for that. What about you? Mina?
Yeah, I think when I started, I had this idea in my mind that there was a silver bullet. And I thought that there was a silver bullet with Amazon PPC or with a listing or SEO. And I realized there's no silver bullet. I had to just benchmark where I was in every category. So how is my product market fit? How is my listing? How is my PPC? How's my supply chain? How's my customer lifetime value? And then set a goal and work towards continuous improvement in every single category. And it never ends, because you could have the absolute best listing on Amazon in 2018, and I guarantee you that it is now the worst one in 2025. And so that never ends. And for me, I was looking for, what was that end? When am I going to get to the end? And there is no end. It is a continuous improvement process. You're constantly innovating. As soon as you launch your first product, you should be looking for V2. As soon as you launch your PPC campaigns, you should be looking for data. You should be looking to optimize your bids and your budgets and everything, and continuously improve your campaigns. As soon as your listing is optimized and beautiful and you think your images are amazing, have your top competitors right there in front of you and look at them. And if at some point in time they look like they're better than you, it's time for you now to one-up them.
Awesome. Well, there's a ton of golden nuggets for you guys. I appreciate you guys watching. This is an inside look. I mean, you're learning from some amazing sellers that have a lot of experience. So go back, listen to it, make sure to take action, and we'll see you guys in the next one.